This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, across Europe and Asia on the Euro Radio TV network, and, of course, on iHeartRadio. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and to find out the great programming that we have available for you, 24/7, 365 on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and where you can actually listen to the show, check out the past archives. It's very simple, www.xzbn.net. First of all, Exonation, to all our Canadian listeners around the world and those who want to be Canadians, hey, Happy Canada Day tomorrow. Canada celebrates its 150th birthday. And to all our American friends all around the world and those who want to be Americans, happy 4th of July. My guest this hour is Donna Stellhorn. She is an astrologer and Feng Shui expert with more than 20 years' experience. She wrote a monthly column on Feng Shui for the newspaper, The Light, for 8 years. And just to clarify, a newspaper is a blog they used to print on paper. Remember those guys? Well, we still do that with the X-Chronicles newspaper. But they used to do this all the time way back when. Donna's first book, Feng Shui book, was published in Europe in 1996. Since then, she has written 12 books, including Feng Shui Form and the best-selling booklet, Sage and Smudge, Clearing Your Personal Space. Her annual Chinese Astrology series, which includes Chinese Astrology 2017, Year of the Rooster, is the third best-selling Chinese Astrology series in the world. Her upcoming book, Plate Size Matters, combines Feng Shui with weight loss, where she describes how she used Feng Shui techniques to lose 35 pounds and keep it off. This book will be available later on in 2017. Joining me now from California, where she resides with her poodle Giles, is Donna Stellhorn. And Donna, welcome to the X-Zone.
Hi, Rob. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, we are so happy to have you with us tonight, Donna. As I was telling you before we went to air, Feng Shui is one of my favorite subjects. And how did you get started with Feng Shui?
Oh, it was so many years ago. You know, I really kind of caught it at its infancy out here in California, because I actually grew up in a really sort of chaotic household, and I was always curious whether some of that was because we did a lot of construction on the house. You know, we started with a house that was 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and my mother just kept adding on. And when I left at 20, it was 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2
Holy
decks.
cow.
it was huge. She just basically ran out of land, which so I was so interested in the idea that our environment could affect our mood and our energy and our decision making. And when I found Feng Shui, I was like, oh my gosh, here it is.
Now, there are several different types of Feng Shui, one being black hat, and which practice or which part of Feng Shui do you practice the most?
Well, you're absolutely right. There's actually 8 different schools of Feng Shui that are very distinctive ideas. And there was really only originally 2 different schools. One is Compass School, and this was practiced in flatlands of China. And this is where they use the device to determine the quality and the quantity of qi energy that was coming in. But there's also Form School, and that's what I practice. And Form School took into account mountains and rivers. And so this was in a more mountainous region. And here in California, where things are hilly and mountainy, and we have the big ocean, Form School works really well.
All right, Donna, you and I have to take our first commercial break. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about Donna, her website, or to even schedule an appointment, go to meetme.so/Donna Stellhorn. That's www.meetme.so/Donna Stellhorn. And Donna and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Remember, if you're going to be partying this weekend in Canada or the United States, if you drink, please do not drive.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Exonation, Donna Stellhorn is our special guest, and her website is fengshuiform.com. That's F-E-N-G, Feng Shui, S-H-U-I, Forum, F-O-R-M.com. And Donna, excuse me, what are the signs that a house needs a clearing?
Well, that's a really important question, because oftentimes, we feel like our home is our sanctuary, but when we come home after a long day, we are releasing not just, our things and, taking off scarves and putting down bags, but we are releasing emotions from the day, and those emotions can build up. And so what we see in houses that need to be cleared are excessive clutter. There can be things that break, more arguments happen in the home, that there is some deterioration in just normal things that you would think should last longer. We also see infiltrations of insects, bugs, lots of dust comes into the house. Those are all signs that a clearing is needed.
So if somebody listening tonight is saying, geez, that kind of sounds like my house or my Aunt Bertha's house, how can they start to turn things around?
Well, there's actually a lot of different ways to clear a house. And one of the ways that I talk about a lot is smudging. And that is a Native American inspired technique where you take sage, like what we would use on a Thanksgiving turkey, the herb sage, and we light that and carry that around the house. And they've actually done studies that show that the smoke from burning sage acts like an antibiotic for your house. It actually removes germs and issues from the air.
So where do you get sage, and how many different types of sage are there?
And there are a couple of different types of sage. The best sage to use is a white sage. It grows here in California, but it is the one that you would use in your cooking. So you can get sage easily in health food stores, but also you can find it in the garden. You can find, actually, in health food stores, they'll have a smudge stick, and that is a bundle of sage that is tied together with string. And this makes it very easy to light it and carry it around. And when you light it, it doesn't stay on fire, it smokes. And so it's actually quite safe. But there are other methods too to clear a house if a person doesn't want to, have some smoke in the house.
What would they do then if they didn't want to use sage?
Well, one of the things they can do is just with some very simple ingredients, like taking some water, I would say maybe a cup and a half of water, put in a little of just white vinegar, and mix in some sea salt, about maybe half a teaspoon. Spritz that around the house. And you can use that. You can even use that for just general cleaning. But as you spritz it through the house, just picture that negative energy is leaving the house. You can even ask for negative energy to leave the house.
What is the significance of the sea salt?
Sea salt's interesting because salt takes away all energy. It takes energy down to a neutral state. So it actually will remove both negative and positive energy. In Feng Shui, we use salt a lot when we want to take something down to its base. So then we can then add in positive energy when we want.
But isn't there a danger in taking away the positive energy that's within a home if a person uses this technique?
Well, this is why my first recommendation is always to smudge, because with smudging, you're actually removing the negativity and adding the positive. But the salt I have used in situations where the negative energy is very, very entrenched. This will allow it to bring it back to a neutral state, and then we can add in the positive energy. And we can do this by ringing bells, saying prayers, giving a blessing to the house. You can also do things like anointing different objects in the house, doorknobs and windowsills with holy water.
Doorknobs with holy water. What would that do? And how does it do it?
Holy water is water that has been blessed by a priest or a shaman. And so anything that has a blessing like that can be used to bring in the positive energy. And by the way, if your listeners really like the idea of using a water versus a smoke, one thing that I've done that is very effective is to take the sage leaves that are used, again, in the smudge stick and make a tea out of those. So make a little tea bag of the sage leaves and brew that tea for about 15 minutes. Let it cool, and then put that in your spray bottle and spritz that around the house. And that will also clear the energy. It's so amazingly effective that if you spray yourself, you will actually feel like you're tingling all over. It's wonderful.
So where does this negative energy come from? And is there any way that we can stop it before it enters into the home?
Yeah, that's a great question. Now, negative energy can come from several sources. Negative energy could come from disturbances of the property itself. That is, in some areas, if there was, say, in its history, war in that area or some sort of conflict, then when they built the house itself, it's still on that spot. Negative energy also could come from something that occurred in the past in the house. There could have been a grave illness or an accident, perhaps a divorce in the house. And then you bought the house and moved in unaware that that energy was there. You also could get negative energy because you have had some tragedy in your own life, and you pick up the information there while you're in the house. It's very upsetting. There may be tears or arguments about this. And so the struggles that you've gone through, that energy, residual energy, can still be in the house. And then we just bring things home. We're stuck in traffic. We're not sure that we're happy with our job. And so we come home and we try to release the energy so we can feel better. And what we're doing is we release it into the house, and it can get stuck.
But what about people who go garage shopping on Saturday mornings, or they go to the antique market, they go to auctions? How can they prevent, or how can they stop the possibility of whatever they're buying bringing it into their house with negative energy? Can they smudge it? Can they spurt it? Can they keep it outside? And should they do it before they bring the article in the house?
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. And this is something that we, in Feng Shui, we know very much that people who collect a lot of antiques don't recognize that they are bringing in not just that piece of furniture or not just that antique ring, but they're bringing in the history that that object has. And, I hear sometimes people say, well, I'm not sensitive to that. And yet our sensitivity to those objects, we see it all the time. When you walk into a place, when you decide to sit in a certain chair versus another chair, you are feeling the different energies that these objects have. So when it comes to bringing in a piece of furniture, it's usually impractical to try to clear it before it enters the house. But that's okay. Once it's in the house, as soon as it's really possible, do the clearing. And that is if you're going to smudge the piece, and you can smudge any piece that's made of wood or stone very easily. You take your smudge stick, you light it, and you're going to let the smoke touch the object. And so of course, smoke rises up, and so you can fan smoke towards an object. And that once the smoke is touching the object, it is clearing it. For things that have perhaps that are more delicate, such as fabrics, smoke's not as practical. And then I do like to use salt. And we're not going to actually have the fabric touch the salt, but what we're going to do is you would place, maybe you found a scarf and in an antique store. And so you take the scarf and you place it on a table, and then you're going to make a large circle around the scarf of salt. And this would take, probably a quarter cup of salt. You're just going to sprinkle a circle around it, and you're going to let it sit there for about a day. The salt's going to absorb any negative energy that the scarf has. And yes, it will absorb the positive energy that it had too. Now the scarf is neutral, and then you can add the positive energy by just wearing the scarf and loving the scarf. Also, another point that's quite important, when you are using salt for this purpose, gather the salt together into the trash can, but take the trash out of your house. Place it in a trash can off your property. You can do that at a park. Fast food restaurants often have trash cans outside. Grocery stores have trash cans outside. Just take it with you on your way to work and drop it somewhere else. Don't just dump it into your kitchen trash, because at that point it could release the negative energy back into the house.
Now, Feng Shui is a very ancient Eastern methodology. How did the smudging from the North American natives get incorporated into a Chinese or Asian ritual?
Well, it really didn't. It's that when Feng Shui came to America, we Americans tend to like to combine things and put our new spin on it. And that's why we also have, pizza and all these other things. So what we were looking for in Feng Shui was an easy way to clear an object, because in Asia, what they do is they just don't bring antiques into the house unless they absolutely know that there was a positive history attached to the object. And that's not what we Americans want to do. And I think it's really great that we have taken something that is as wonderful and powerful as Feng Shui, but found ways that we can use it with our American lifestyle.
How do we know if the Feng Shui is really working and it's just not a placebo effect?
We know this because marketing people are using Feng Shui on us all the time. We know that we are affected by our environments so much that this is why they put the chewing gum next to the register. They have done studies to say, that if they can keep you in a store for a long time, you're more likely to buy something. If your shopping cart is large, you're more likely to buy something. If the breakfast cereal that they want you to buy is at eye level, or better still, at your child's eye level, you're more likely to buy. So you're that affected acid, that it's taking your decisions and causing them to change. And that is basic Feng Shui, what I call kind of a reverse Feng Shui. And this goes for, how you order in a restaurant. They will place the thing they want you to order in a box, and that in your mind you think, well, if it's in a box, it's important. It's got a frame around it, and you're more likely to order that. Well, that's the item where they make the most profit. That's why it's in the box.
But still, you haven't answered my question. How do we know if Feng Shui works and it's not a placebo effect? You made a reference to the marketing, and let's get back to this question when we come back from this break with the news. Exonation will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, and I want to tell you about a great provision for those interested in spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Find Your Path Home Shamanic Art Center is your resource for reliable, leading-edge information, education, and healing, offering our brand-new online galactic shamanism classes, long-distance shamanic healing performed by Path Home Shamanic Art School certified shamanic practitioners, and the Science of Magic's topic-driven radio episode collections, where I interview today's leading experts on science and magic. All of this designed to inform, support, and empower you through these changing times. Visit us in all we have to offer at findyourpathhome.com. That's findyourpathhome.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Exonation, our guest this hour is Donna Stellhorn. Her website is fengshuiform.com. And Donna, what I was saying is that how do we know Feng Shui really works? And it's just not a case of mind over matter or the placebo effect. And then you referenced the marketing of cereal, the marketing of products in a restaurant, the size of a shopping cart. But how does that relate to the validity that Feng Shui really works?
Well, the essence of Feng Shui is that we're placing things in our home to shift our decision making. Mm-hmm. It's not that the lucky money cat is magical. It is when we see the lucky money cat and we recognize that is there in our home, we're making different decisions. So that is something that people don't necessarily think about Feng Shui, but what we're actually doing is we're affecting the reticular activating system in our brain, which says that, oh, now I am focused on getting more money into my life. That's why this cat is here, and that's why it works.
So basically what you're saying, it is mind over matter or a placebo effect.
Well, I don't know.
All right, let me ask you this question: are there any scientific studies that would tend to show the fact? And I'm not talking about marketing here. I'm talking about sheer scientific surveys or studies that have been done that say beyond a shadow of a doubt that Feng Shui really does work.
No one is studying Feng Shui. They're only studying things related to marketing because marketing makes money. And so that's what they're interested in. But these are directly applicable to Feng Shui because we're talking about how your environment shapes your decision making.
Okay, so all right, I get that. I get that. So somebody comes to you and they want to have their home Feng Shui'd. Basically, do you tell them that what we're going to be doing is we're not going to be doing anything that can be proven? It's going to be a mind over matter, that you are going to see things and thereby putting it into your direct perspective, and then your subconscious will look at it and you believe that you're making these changes?
Well, I guess I'm not asked that directly, but what I will say is that I see more scientific evidence that directly relates to Feng Shui that in the last few years than I have seen in all my time of doing Feng Shui. And so, for example, a client says to me, my relationship feels like it's dead. It feels like it's going nowhere. And I go into her bedroom and she has that New Mexico giant cow skull over her bed. And so every time she walks into her bedroom, she thinks dead cow over my bed. This has an effect on how she sees everything related to what's going on in the bedroom. And that is affecting her.
But what happens if she likes this skull?
So she's liking the skull because she does want something to change, something to pass away from the relationship. So we are attracted to externally to what's going on with us internally. Everything that we're attracted to has something to do with what's going on inside of us. Otherwise, we're not interested. Cause and effect. Yes.
Okay, but let's take the example of the poor lady who's got the cattle skull over her bed, and the motif in her bedroom is Mexican. How does that relate to the fact, besides that she's got very bad taste as an interior designer, how does that relate to the fact that we know, based on Feng Shui, that this is the cause of her poor relationship status? And it's not the fact that her designs just suck. Or she may be a lousy person.
Are you asking me if we know it's causation versus correlation?
Right.
We don't know that. But if it's just correlation, it's still valid. It's still something that then we can change and make her life better. And this gives her a chance to improve this relationship. Or when I say, keeping this cow skull here is negatively affecting the relationship, and she says, okay, I'm going to still keep it because I really love it, well, then perhaps it is time for that relationship to be over.
But where does the aspect of the Feng Shui consultant change from Feng Shui design to psychologist?
I guess that we find that these two things are more linked than we expected. Yes, there are many Feng Shui practitioners who just look at it from an interior design place where they go in and they just make a space very beautiful. But in my world, I see it as one of the most useful methods, first, of seeing what's going on inside the person, because their environment will tell me a story about them. And second, to help them achieve the goals they're looking for by creating an environment that supports those goals. And we see this now from a lot of mainstream authors, Tim Ferriss, 4 Hour Work Week, Gary Keller, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. They both said in their books, your environment has a huge impact on what you do in your daily life, what your habits are. And that is basic Feng Shui.
But that is no secret. People in office design and people who run very successful offices, they know that the workplace and how the effectiveness of the workplace, as well as the positive attitude that the workplace expounds, will be a direct factor in their bottom line, because a happy member of a staff is a more productive member of staff.
You're absolutely right. Environmental psychology does work. And what we find is the principles of environmental psychology mirror that of Feng Shui. And that was basically the big bonus that this practice that is thousands of years old actually has the building blocks of things that we are scientifically studying today.
Okay, let me ask you this. The Feng Shui, which was, I believe, developed by the Chinese going back several thousand years ago, is so successful. How come China is such a backward country?
Because actually during the Cultural Revolution around the 1960s, all Feng Shui information was driven underground. Feng Shui practitioners were killed. It was outlawed. And only much, much later, in the late 80s, did we start to see any information come out about Feng Shui. And Feng Shui started to rise up again. And then we've seen from the late 80s the rise of China itself to become a major world player. So we went from a civilization that's been around for a very, very long time. Yes, it did get off the rails there for a while. And interesting, that correlated with the same time where Feng Shui was against the law.
All right. So what would stop a country that is poor, that it has no economic future, that has nothing to look forward to? And let's use Bangladesh as an example. What would happen to Bangladesh if Bangladesh was to impose the use of Feng Shui?
I have no idea, but I think it's worth trying out.
Somebody has a problem, they go to a professional. Feng Shui consultants are known for their knack of organizing and displays. But I'm still having a hard time, putting my mind around the fact that Feng Shui consultants use the title of Feng Shui to be psychologists. A psychologist goes to school, gets licensed, is responsible.
They're not really doing that. I'm not sure maybe your question, but...
All right, I'll put it very simple. You were saying that, let's go back to the lady who has the skull over the bed and has her Mexican motif in her bedroom. She's having problems with affairs, with her relationships. You as a Feng Shui consultant we're saying, well, it could be the motif. It could be the skull. The skull is a symbol of your inability to have relationships. Doesn't that go outside the realm of Feng Shui and into the realm of psychology?
I don't know. I think that what I said to her was a skull is a sign of death.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she's the one who'd said, my relationship feels dead. So that's where the connection's made. But, if a person says, I need psychiatric help, I'm going to take them and say, here, go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
But the fact that you brought up the point where the skull was a representation of death, could that have not been the reason why she said, well, my relationship is dead?
Well, she didn't know that her decor was representing death. So I came in and pointed it out to her, that she had a symbol of death in her bedroom.
If she had a crucifix in her bedroom, what would that be a symbol of?
The crucifix in some people's mind is a religious symbol, and in other people's minds it's not. So it depends on what religion you are.
Well, why would a person who is not a Christian have a crucifix in their bedroom?
I don't know, but I have seen it.
Okay. So how about mirrors, the color red, the placement of coins in different places in the house? How does this work?
Well, that's a great question. So, for example, coins is a universal symbol of prosperity. Nearly all cultures have coins as money, with the exception of a few places that use shells and maybe still do. So when we see coins of any country, we think of prosperity. And this reminds us that we are looking for money in our own life. It reminds us that maybe it's time to turn off the television and get back to work, or to at least do a meditation to say, oh yes, I'm looking for money opportunities. That's why we use coins.
What about the color red and mirrors?
Red is traditionally a very happy color in China itself. They use it for a lot of positive celebrations, weddings, all of these things. But we also know from studies that color does affect people. Now, scientists are still not sure whether color itself is a wave or a particle, but that they do know that seeing certain colors does affect a person's physiology, and as well as their emotions and, again, their decision-making.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our final break. Exonation Donna Stellhorn is our special guest, and she's a Feng Shui expert. Her website is www.fengshuiforum.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Are you curious? Do you want to learn more about how the world works and have fun at the same time? Study coincidences with me, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on my Connecting with Coincidence radio show here on the XZBN network. Listen to Jungians theorize, statisticians randomize, true believers evangelize, while I categorize. I dance to the rhythm of coincidences. People who experience me see more of them. Maybe something on the show matches a thought in your mind. Let us know. Expand your mind to the weirdness happening around you. Synchronicity spoken here, there, and everywhere. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence in your search engine and find my website, my social media sites, and my blog.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A Soul Balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world. There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the 4 corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Donna Stellhorn is our guest this hour. We're talking about Feng Shui. And Donna, can you refresh my memory what the color red signifies?
Well, the color red is a very lucky and fortunate color in Feng Shui. Mm-hmm. But in just in a universal sense, red causes us to take action, which does, by the way, bring up a funny note. Back in the early turn of the last century, so the early 1900s, they were trying to decide what color to make a stop sign, and they were going to choose green for a stop sign, which actually would have been more appropriate because the color green does cause us to pause and enjoy. But they chose the color red, which is exactly the opposite color they should have chosen. And this was based on some argument that 2 men had in a room. And it's so, but red causes us to take action. It causes us to take notice. And when we take action, then we receive benefit. In addition, they have found that there's actually a physiological change. If you sit in a room that's painted blue, you can lower your blood pressure up to 20%. Mm-hmm. They have found that when they add orange to classrooms, that children become more creative and do better on standardized tests. They have done studies that show that when weightlifters lift weights looking at the color pink, they cannot lift as much when looking at other colors. So this is an actual fact that adding different colors actually changes how we are in the room.
Then why is it when anyone talks about red with anger, that in Western society the color red is associated with anger, with a negative emotion?
Too much of any color will produce a negative emotion, which is red would be anger, mm-hmm. Too much blue becomes sadness, too much yellow becomes fear, too much orange becomes overcautiousness. And so we always want to find the balance, a little bit of one color, but an entire room painted red, mm-hmm. Yes, we're not going to just take action. We're going to take angry action.
Sure. Is it possible that the different psychological effect of colors is different from those people living in the East and those people living in the West?
We do associate different things with different colors. For example, here in the United States, we dress our brides in white, mm-hmm. But in Asia, white is reserved for funerals. But there's still the energy of white being pure, being very clear. That is a universal idea, but we have gone from different cultures and associated it with different, perhaps, ceremonies or different times of year.
Is Feng Shui just a passing phase, or is it here to stay?
I think because it's been around for so long, it's definitely here to stay. But what I am excited about, as I said before, is that I'm seeing many studies that are not naming Feng Shui, but are using principles of how your environment, your personal environment is set up, and showing that those really do affect you. Mm-hmm. And while I am a big fan of the placebo effect, I think that the fact that our brain is powerful enough to pretend to take a medication and actually become healed, I think that that's amazing. I think that these studies do help us understand how we can set ourselves on a trajectory to help ourselves by just shifting some things in our environment. For example, if you want to eat more fruits and vegetables, take the fruits and vegetables out of those crispers, out of those things in your refrigerator, and put those in a bowl in your top shelf of your refrigerator, and you will find that you and your family reach for those much more often than you did before.
Well, isn't that a matter of choice, whether it's going to be on the top or whether it's going to be on the bottom? If you know something's good for you, wherever it is in the fridge, well, that's been my experience. That's where you'll go.
Actually, what studies show is that that's not true, that we tend to do most decisions on automatic pilot, that just food decisions alone, mm-hmm. Studies show that we make over 200 decisions every day just related to food. So we hit decision fatigue pretty early on. And so when a person is in that fatigue mode or tired for any reason, they're going to reach for what they can see, what's the easiest to get.
I would imagine this is for a person who has very little self-control, but people who have self-control, I don't think, fall into the same category and follow the same study guidelines and findings.
There is some truth that when it's a priority in a person's life, that they will exhibit more self-control in an area. But some people have lots of different priorities. They have jobs and children, and mm-hmm. maybe they're taking care of a loved one. And so what happens is that they can't have the priority of maybe eating healthy, or maybe getting right to work and not putting on the TV, or maybe getting to sleep on time. Maybe that doesn't hit the priority level. So what you're suggesting, that consciousness and that mindfulness, I think, is our goal. But if we can't hit it, isn't it great that we can shift our environment to make it easier for us to hit the goal?
Sounds like just another example of how a lazy society is.
I don't know that I would call it lazy.
Well, how else can
I think that there is a point where we get decision fatigue. Willpower, they have shown, is something that not that just people have, but it's like a muscle. It can become tired. Now, being like a muscle, it also means that, yes, we...
Hello? Are you still there? Hello, Donna. Well, let's try and get Donna back. I don't know what happened, Craig. According to our system here, she is still on the line. Maybe she just moved in a funny way and she disconnected herself. But over here at Master Control, Craig, you're saying that it's still showing that she's online. All right, let's go and do a little bit of reading about Donna again. Donna Stellhorn, who is our guest, who we for some reason can't contact any longer, is an astrologer and Feng Shui expert with more than 20 years' experience. She wrote a monthly column on Feng Shui for the newspaper The Light for 8 years. Donna's first Feng Shui book was published in Europe in 1996. She then began. She has then since written 12 books, including Feng Shui Form and the best-selling booklet Sage and Smudge, Clearing Your Personal Space. Her annual Chinese Astrology series, which includes Chinese Astrology 2017, Year of the Rooster, is the third best-selling Chinese astrology series in the world. Her upcoming book, Plate Size Matters, combines Feng Shui with weight loss, where she describes how she used Feng Shui techniques to lose 35 pounds and keep it off. The book will be available later on this year. Little known fact about Donna, she has done stand-up comedy on stage in California and Arizona and actually got a few laughs. Donna currently lives in Orange County, California, with her standard poodle, Giles. Now, if you'd like to contact Donna, visit her website at www.fengshuiforum.com. Here's a little bit of a concern I have, Exonation. Jan Harzan, the executive director of MUFON, that's the Mutual UFO Network, supports racism and racist remarks in MUFON. In May 2017, the MUFON state director for both Pennsylvania and Delaware and Inner Circle member John Ventry posted what can only be called a racist rant to racist rants to his private Facebook page. Several people reacted to it, suggesting that such opinions were appalling. MUFON's executive director and Inner Circle member, Jan Harzan, reacted with what was called a non-apology, attacking those who had reacted negatively, calling them haters, and then suggested that these haters might be worse than John Ventry. The offensive posts, as well as the critical comments, were then removed from Ventry's Facebook page. Harzan eventually announced that Ventry had been fired as the state director for both states. The reaction came only after there had been more bad public relations for MUFON. Now, not long after this, it was discovered that another of the Inner Circle members, J.Z. Knight, had, in a drunken rant, made other racially charged comments about the Jews, Mexicans, gays, Catholics, and organic farmers. Harzan, on learning this, ignored the severity of the comments, saying that if she had been a state director, he would have fired her. All three remain on the Inner Circle, and while it is suggested that the Inner Circle has no real influence over the workings of MUFON, other documentation, including the MUFON website, suggests otherwise. By the way, to become a member of the MUFON Inner Circle, it takes a donation of $5,000 a year, according to our sources. Now, given the slow reaction to Ventry's racist rant and the lack of real concern about such attitudes at the highest level of the MUFON organization, as evidenced by Harzan's public comments about both Ventry and Knight, it's time to remove these high-ranking MUFON officials from positions of power and oversight. The problem is systemic at the top, and such attitudes can filter down through the organization. Rather than standing by and watch what happens, it's time to make a change. If you agree with this, visit www.xzbnradiotv.com and sign our online petition. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And we'll be back on the other side of this break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.